Exegesis. This is a book review channel that I'm starting with a good friend of mine, Ashley. Say hello, Ashley.
Hi, Ashley.
She's behind the camera. Exegesis is a word that means critical interpretation of a text. Usually, exegesis is a word that you would use for interpreting the Bible or some sort of a religious text. We're going to apply the same critical analysis that scholars usually apply to the Bible and the Quran and you know, holy books to some of the books that we hold dear. The first book that I'd like to discuss, the first book that I would like to be in this series, is Fahrenheit 451. Now, Fahrenheit 451 is a great book to start off with for a couple of reasons. One, it's an all-time classic. It is one of the greatest sci-fi books ever written, and especially the most famous sci-fi book written by Ray Bradbury, which I'm sure many people have read in freshman English classes. Fahrenheit 451 celebrates the novel. It celebrates it by presenting us with a dystopian future in which books are being burnt, and books are actually outlawed by the government as being forms of entertainment that are corrupting the minds of the people in this society. For those of you who aren't familiar with the world of Fahrenheit 451, I'm going to give you a short, brief understanding of the workings of the novel, of the story. The protagonist in the story is Guy Montag. Now, Guy Montag is a firefighter, but he's not a firefighter in the traditional sense that we think of them, because in this future, firefighters actually start fires. And it is through this job of finding books and burning them and ridding them in society that he comes across a book that he finds and he takes. He's not quite sure why he takes it, and he's not really, you know, he's never really read a book before, so he's not entirely sure what's in it, what the book.
What does it mean?
What it means? So, Guy Montag then meets a young girl, and the young girl starts talking about everything she hates in society, you know, all the, you know, everything that she sees that's wrong with it, and over the course of the novel he begins to agree with her, and then, long story short, some of the other firefighters catch on to what's happening, and stuff happens. It's a fantastic work of literature that I did not do justice in that explanation. The novel is important because it shows what a society can become without books and without literature. And in the media, you know, infested world that we have currently, it shows what that could become. Because in the novel, religious figures such as Jesus are used as selling icons, such as, you know, the Lucky Charms leprechaun. And people have, you know, TV screens that take up entire walls, and it's just so sterile and so lifeless, and nobody cares about one another. And Ray Bradbury uses this as a point that books are what help us connect with other people. Fahrenheit 451 also deals with the topic of censorship. And that is something that has gone around a lot lately, especially with SOPA and all of the other, you know, control the internet acts that the government has been producing. But the censorship that Fahrenheit 451 deals with is specifically that of books. And it harkens back to Nazi Germany, when books were being burned because of what they had inside of them. You know, the pro-Jewish causes or anything that would paint them in a good light. This book takes it to a little bit more of an extreme in saying that all books, you know, every book that you've ever read is bad, and there's something intrinsically bad with the books themselves, and that's why books need to be eliminated, because they cause people to think, and when people think, you know, they begin to question authority. Fahrenheit 451 also deals with the future of literature, and that's something that concerns me and Ashley. Does it concern you?
Yes.
It concerns Ashley deeply. It's something that concerns both of us because it seems like people aren't reading as much as they used to. Which is interesting, because if you look at some online polls and some statistics, it actually shows that more people are reading now, which is a great thing. Within the last couple years, the amount of people that are reading have gone up, and a lot of people have speculated this is from the invention of the Kindle and the other digital media sources that you can now read books on, but there's still the problem of the physical book itself, that one day we could lose paper books. which is something that, to me and to a couple other people, is actually quite horrifying. That one day the physical book will be gone, because in a world where everything is digital, you lose something that's hard to put, a title on. Just the feeling of a book, the weight of a book, the turning the pages, the writing in the margins, the bending of the corners, the smell of the paper, especially old books. These things will someday, hopefully no day soon, but someday probably fade away. And Fahrenheit 451 kind of harkens to that, especially towards the end of the novel, where Guy Montag meets some people who have pretty much devoted their lives to memorizing books. And in the same way, in the future of our country, it may be someday that only, a few people will have paper books, that the old ones will kind of, start to rot away, as we're seeing now, with yellowing pages and broken spines and falling apart, and new books will cease to be printed, because digital books are so much easier. And in that world, libraries will, probably not exist anymore. Bookstores, which are already on the decline, if we could have a moment of silence for Borders. I recommend Fahrenheit 451. It is a fantastic book written by a brilliant author about topics that have to do with what we're facing today. And in a show that's all about books, in a show that named itself over the critical interpretation of books, I can tell you that Fahrenheit 451 is a prolific work, a work that was talking about today's day and age, and the ages to come, and a book that I think is extremely important for everyone to read. And more so, it is an extremely fun book.